Now, why would I do that? All my glasses are missing. Hi, hi. Welcome to Leap Taken. I'm Mika. Where are my glasses? I can't see. I'm going to have trouble reading the comments. I have my readers. Why am I like this? You would think I don't have this plan. I guess if I really want to read something, I could put these on. But I don't want to do that. Let me stop playing and go find. Thought I left my glasses here. I thought wrong. Seriously, are you not on my desk? I have like 5 pairs of glasses and none of them are near me. True glasses wearer know this. Glasses wearers know this. Like you, and I keep them all around so this won't be an issue, but here we are. Okay. Do I even have the volume up? I do. Okay. All right. I am going to grab my glasses so I can understand the world. And I'm back, and the phone's ringing. Hello, hello. Welcome to Leap Taken. I'm Mika. Here at Leap Taken, I talk all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And welcome. Ooh, as I knock stuff over, welcome. Today we're talking about witchcraft as rebellion. It's actually one of my favorite topics to talk about witchcraft this way. Who knows? Um, but yeah, we're gonna get into this topic. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna break some stuff down and we're gonna attack it. We're gonna attack the subject. Um, I have my notes because I definitely want to stay on point. Today we're having a conversation. Honestly, is always brewing just under the surface. This topic. Um, if you're someone who is well, even honestly, even if you choose to not be engaged in politics, to be a witch, you're already political, point blank, period. I know a lot of people think differently. To be a witch, you're already in politics, whether you believe it or not. You are. But anyway, witchcraft as rebellion. Not, I'm not talking about in the past, they burned our grandmothers. I'm not talking about that. But right now, in the middle of 2025, when the world is on fire, rights are being stripped away, and the spiritual community is being pulled between, to me, love and light performance and the real work of liberation. There are people on these different apps who there's a couple people that come to mind and they're serious about it, uh about their activism. One of the people who stands out in my head, and I haven't seen, I well, relatively recently, I say in the last 30 days, I know I've watched something of hers, was Activist Witch. um whether you rock with her content or not, at least she stays like on it. Like she keeps her foot on the neck of people who have a larger platform and don't use their voice. And not just don't use their voice, but to me, she will call you out because not only are you not using your voice, you're kind of anti, you of the side of right. A couple things have come out, and I saw that she does that. And you know what? Good for her. Her thing is now. I'm gonna call you out by name. I'm gonna mention you for real. And I love that for her. At least she's staying true to it. At least she's, being, I don't know, authentic. It's not that fake crap. Or just let's play a game of pretend. Well, we're not going to talk about that over here. I think depending on what you're on different platforms, whatever your message is, whatever, like basically if you have a YouTube channel, if you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, uh X, Blue Sky, where have you. When you are promote if you are talking about being a witch, I think it's kind of, it's silly. It's to never mention anything that's going on, or to at least talk about your practice as an act of rebellion at minimum. I don't know, I feel like you're a disingenuous witch. You're trying to avoid. And I typically only see this with a certain type of person, practitioner, witch, in more the ones that are rooted in some level of hoodoo, folk magic. You know, I don't I see them. I don't know. Anyway, that's another conversation. Moving on. If you've ever felt like your spiritual path was a way to fight back, to survive, or to speak up, this is going to be for you. That you're going to get something out of this. And I think that's probably why I'm making this point. And it's been in my observation, I noticed that they don't, the ones who don't really speak up as much, they tend to have larger platforms, and they kind of stick to very, happy, light and love type topics. And, they don't really talk about much of anything of relevance. And the people that, they have larger platforms, a lot more followers. And I just feel like they represent, in the most disparaging, meant to offend way, when we were like, oh, those light and love, those light and love types, they they only want to be in the light. They don't believe anything dark. It's all just happy, and white. They're gonna tell you they do white magic. Them type. Y'all know what I'm getting at. Um, but those who I notice, who, whether it's indigenous or just, I'm just going to say, of African descent, those who work, I noticed, well, I'm going to just use the umbrella term folk magic. I don't know when they're talking about protection, but protection against, what's happening, modern day 2025. I'm just saying, but let me get on to my notes because I'm veering off already. Witchcraft has always been rebellion. Um, the word witch has never been neutral. It's never been a neutral term. I like using it in the same way. Well, I like saying it because, one, there's something in me. Maybe it's that Scorpio energy, my rising. I don't know. I kind of want to piss you off a little bit, especially in certain circles. I could easily say, oh, I'm more of a spiritual person. I could say, oh, and sometimes I do. But if I'm sensing a tone, like, what are you going to do to me? Oh, what are you really? What are you really gonna do? You're just gonna get mad, and you can say something. Oh, really? You into that? Yeah, I am. So I purposely say it to some people. Other times, I'm just like, I'm more of a new, I guess, new age. I'll say that, but I'm walking around with a shirt on that says I'm a real life witch. But back to the topic, it was hurled at women who had too much power, healers, midwives, Black, Indigenous women, queer people, anyone who couldn't be controlled. Witchcraft, when the term witch was, it was never neutral. It was always to be offensive and to usually end in some sort of harm, violence, or something like that. But witchcraft is not only potions and Pinterest altars. It's also ancestral memory. It is survival, especially for those of us, again, who are hoodoo practitioners. It's about survival. It's saying, I'll trust my intuition over your institution. From the burning times to now, calling yourself a witch, especially as a Black witch, or if you're queer, a queer witch, or a woman, it is always going to be political, whether you want it to be or not. It's 2025 when rights are being rolled back, and I feel like silence is being rewarded. Um, Choosing the path of witchcraft is rebellion. Just coming into it, even enlighten loved ones on some level. You got to meet people where they are. No, it's an act of rebellion to openly refer to yourself as a witch. So I want to talk about the culture war and the witch. Um, Current events, right? It's not theoretical anymore. We're watching reproductive rights vanish. A woman, like, we had a woman who was dead, essentially. She was on a machine, keeping her alive, but she was essentially brain dead, unfortunately. May she rest in peace. Um, and they made her, the baby, go to term. And I don't think that was right. We had someone, I think it was in the state of Texas, because of a miscarriage complications. They died. I think it was Texas. I'm not sure of the state. Doesn't matter which state it was specifically. The point is, like, we're seeing the real effects of this. Books getting banned. That's to make sure knowledge, and actual empathy is developed with people, with children. LGBTQ people are targeted. Trans women, they're trying to erase them. They're trying. Anti-blackness is alive and well, and juiced up. And spirituality, it's not untouched either. Christian nationalism is being pushed into politics as we speak. It's working, by the way, unfortunately. It's in our laws, our schools, and on social media. Look what happened to what was Twitter. That agenda that, women who look like me kept telling everybody else was going, that this orange person was bringing in, even though he claimed he didn't know anything about Project 2025. He did, in fact, know, because everything, if you, and I did, I got a copy of it and I looked at it. What is happening is is it going according to plan. They're winning. They're winning. That's why my previous video where I talked about it last week, and it wasn't just to have a conversation. It was like, you got to get like sure about what you believe in. You need to step into your power. Like, the time is now. We're going through it right now, y'all. It's not for, oh, when the time comes. We're in the time. If you were like, maybe I should leave the country, you probably should. If you're in a position and you have the finances and you have the means and the resources, I would tell you to go. If you're saying, I don't know, I think I should still fight, then stay and fight. So when somebody asks me why I do so many protection spells, there is, well, let me answer this. Why I ward my home, why I charge sigils, for truth and clarity. I've been sharing that on the members only side of here of YouTube. A lot of truth and clarity type candle work. It's because we live in a world that is consistently trying to distort truth. So witchcraft has become, or honestly, has always been about survival. The aspect to be a witch, and when you look at history, survival was always part of it in some capacity. That's where the healing comes from, the root work comes from, all of that stuff. It was about basic survival, not just spiritual comfort, but resistance work as well. If the world is telling us to sit down and just stay pretty and keep quiet, for me, spell work says, no, I'm going to stand. I'm going to be loud. I'm going to be fired up. And I'm going to be, in some cases, unbothered from your perspective. And that's where the glamours come in and all that. Don't, glamour magic is more than just about, pretty makeup, lipstick, hair. It is that. But it's something there where I'm giving you unbothered, but in the meantime, I'm working you the whole time. All paths can be rebellious. Um, Actually, before I get into that, I wanted to go back about specifically the practice that I'm in, which is a hearth witch, a cottage witch. Uh, I use them interchangeably. This is the one path where I feel like people are very aesthetic driven, and I love that. So I'm not against that. I don't have a problem with it. But there's no meat. You just getting sides. It's not enough meat to what they're showing you. They're showing you baked goods and a pretty dress, a flowy dress, and running through fields and some candles, more rustic looking things. And that's considered cottage witchery or hearth witchery. And it can be. And that's an aspect because how things look again on the outside, it looks very mundane and picturesque and just very pretty. And that's the illusion. There's a little bit more to it. There's some power underneath the way I do it. And I think this has everything to do with being a a Black American woman, um, there is a substance to it that I don't even know if it's honestly, if I can even really even teach it because it's in my DNA. The spirituality aspect to my practice is rooted in indigenous spiritual practices and hoodoo. There's something in my blood that goes back to my African ancestry as well. So it's really hard to teach that. I try my best to frame it and convey it in a way that low key is entertaining, that you and that you learn as well. But there's so much power there, and resistance work is also built into my practice. The protection, what am I protecting from? What am I trying to protect my family from, my household from? um, I am working everything from, simple vandalism, burglary, pests, unwanted pests, uh, spirits, entities, and then there's the other side of it, because to be a Black American witch in my age, that living as long as I've had, I'm also thinking about the other stuff too. We got an immigration thing going on. I don't look Hispanic, but they got a thing for the Haitians right now. Who's deciding who's what, and what we are and what we're not? Um, Accent or not, who's making that decision? We know with the way ICE is rolling right now, they're just picking up anybody that is brown. So there you go. I think now that the Haitian thing is being, they're highlighting, intentionally highlighting that right now. Yeah, I'm so against ICE, against law enforcement who mean me harm, all of that, yeah. So it's not just about like, oh, evil energy coming into my home. It's everything. Let me read these comments here. There's been a huge uptick in people suddenly loudly espousing their Christian faith in the most aggressive way lately, and it worries me. Same. I follow plenty of people on social media who just happen to be Christian and feels different from that because they've always casually mentioned that their beliefs before without being judgmental or anything. But the past year or so, the number of people who have been popping out as like hostile, I know hostile as Christian influencers is annoying. There's that, which we can get into another conversation altogether on the trad wife thing and the pushing of soft life as you got to be careful who's talking and what they're really saying. I'm gonna give her props to Shira 7, who is like, I'm not talking about falling in love, finding a rich, like there's more than one conversation happening because some of the more people who are their principles are based in Christianity, which is patriarchy. Um, I feel like they're pushing a different agenda, and people hear all this and they think somebody like Shira 7 is saying the same thing. And she's really not. She's not even necessarily pushing marriage per se. She's definitely not pushing love. She's pushing financial advice to women or those them, or someone who was in touch with their femininity or deemed, feminine. So, it doesn't just have to be women. She's been clear about that as well. Basically, um, attracting men with money and being smart about how you do that, and what is your purpose, what are you trying to do, and if you want to kind of just get out of it. If the person is religious, she's basically telling you, okay, be religious. If you make enough money, do it. You don't have to really be it. Like basically lie, scam. She don't use the word scam, but like, play the game. I'll give it to whether you are approaching it that way. And not every woman is going to be able to do that, by the way. It definitely takes a certain mindset to continuously be like that. In the same way, every woman is not going to be a sex worker intentionally. Some women are behaving as sex workers, they just don't realize it and they're not getting paid. But I digress. When it's coming from um, foundational Christian ideology, and there's a lot of them right now talking, and they talk about soft life and all this stuff. You got to listen to the other stuff that they're talking about as well. And they're definitely pushing an agenda. It gets very murky when this person represents himself as somebody who is spiritual into witchcraft. It gets even murkier for somebody like me, and I'll find it, they'll start talking about hoodoo, or they're initiated and they're talking from a place of African spirituality, something Yoruba based. Well, I don't know, I'm struggling with words today. Anyway, y'all know what I mean. Um, and there's the way they talk, either if it's hoodoo, the way they're like, they listen to gospel music, they quoting Bible scripture. You're like, I'm sorry, what are we doing again? And then you got the other ones with the African spirituality, like they're not doing that, but they keep the way that the hierarchy, the way they're talking, it sounds a lot like something Abrahamic, and you're like, wait, what are we doing? Listen, I've talked to a lot of different people. I've had these are not, I've had these run-ins. Now, social media makes it even more apparent because I'm just like y'all. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to hear what people got to say as well. Something I can learn from. Something that might spark something I might have already come across and I've learned and I just kind of forgot about. Um, yeah, and I come across these people instead. People, yeah, you just gotta listen closely sometimes, and then when you think that's what it is, that's probably what it is. Um, but my point was with cottage witchery specifically, or hearth witchery, um, the way I approach it, it's deeply spiritual. Obviously, it's deeply personal, but I don't just it's not just about having pretty things and then I say a little cute little charm over top of it. That cute little charm that I spoke, I'm pulling deep. I'm getting in touch through my bloodline with my ancestors, those that the elders, the people that came before me. Yeah, they might have been using different language. Yeah, they might have been invoking, Jesus Christ in it. But that magic, that well that we're all tapping into that's in our bloodline is real and it's powerful. And I'm tapping into that and I'm speaking my cute little charm. And that it's extremely powerful and it's very real and it's working. Um, and yeah, that's a rebellion in there. So it extends beyond my cottage and it goes to my vehicle and on my person, whether even if I don't have anything in shit, like I don't have any jewelry or anything. Well, I got my necklace on, so this one's enchanted as well. But my point is that power of that magic extends to my person. So as I'm walking about and I'm going through, the world and living, that protection is extended there. And it is powerful. And I know it's powerful because I've been in enough situations of near misses, of somebody maybe still approaching me, but kind of changing their mind about me. Um, I've had various situations recently that I can talk about for sure. Of I'm going to call them near misses, but they got close, but they couldn't get that close. They couldn't complete their agenda. I'll never forget. Um, Somebody approached me asking me for money, and then she was sizing me up. She was. I don't know if she was older. She looked older. I don't know necessarily she was, but she looked a little haggard. But she wasn't like on it. She was in a car. There was another person in a car, and I'm I'm from Camden, New Jersey. I know it's set up. I know it's set up. I grew up there, by the way. I know it's set up. I know when, you got this person over here, you got to, watch the other angles, literally keep your head on a swivel because I realized what was going on. And then I see this car waiting for her, and this woman is sizing me up. And I'm like, yeah, I see what's about to go on. So I'm moving about, and she coming to me with some Christian stuff, all that, just anything to get in my head. She's trying to link and try to keep talking to me. But, I work with certain energies and I know my ancestors got me. So, and also I don't care about being rude. So I love for standing there and no, you ain't getting no money. Oh, no, no, no. Ma'am, you got too many privileges. No, no. Y'all, and if you understand what I'm saying, you understand what I'm saying. She got too many privileges. All you got to do is clean up and you're accepted. I could be dressed to the nines and I won't be accepted. Not my fault. All paths can be rebellious. So I want to talk nuance. Whether you're a cottage witch and you're making a tea, a rose tea, a hibiscus tea, or sweeping your floors with intention, or if you're a glamour witch using your lip gloss to enchant a room when you walk in, or a chaos witch working your sigils and systems, or even modern hoodoo practitioner or conjurer setting, your protection jars or walking with spirit. We're all doing powerful work because rebellion sometimes is loud, but it's not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, it's soft, and it's rooted. But you are doing powerful work. Sometimes it's making a meal magical, a little kitchen witchery. But the point is, it nourishes your body when the world says you might need to shrink. That's some of the aspects of my practice that I don't do a go outside 9 to 5, type work. I have a spiritual business that I run. My adult daughter does. So she's not always, she without getting her business out, so she's dealing with people, the world, the public, and in different walks of life sometimes. So with that, sometimes the energy and people aren't intentional, but it could just be the combined energy of so many people you're coming in contact. You get frustrated. She's upset with how systems work. Also, she might have gotten dumped on. So when she comes home, having a meal that her witchy mother intentionally spell and enchanted to elicit nothing but relaxation, positivity, even to maybe induce a release of sort, um, has been beneficial to her. I don't cook all the time; it's not like that. But when I do, and I kind of know, I'll put a little something on it for her. um, yeah, that helps. That has been super helpful to her, and for myself, whether it's a beverage or whether it's an entire meal, when I enchant that as well, especially moving in a world of, I'm a woman of a certain age. I move through the world and I realize, whether it's through social media, to be perfectly honest, or it's in person, I have real life encounter sometimes. I feel like people want to ignore me because I am a woman of a certain age. I'm not in my 20s. I feel people, they want me to shut up. They don't want me to talk. They don't want me. And when I mean shut up, it's not even just talking. My presence, wearing something they don't think I'm supposed to be wearing because of my age. I get that. Because and I move in places where there might be younger people because they don't have ownership on music or media and things of that nature. So I'm allowed to be in those spaces, and I do walk around with the attitude of like, and who gonna stop me? Or more importantly, who gonna check me? Like, no, really, I really want to know who do you think is gonna who do you think you are to check me? That would be me. But typically, I'm generally just happy to be in a space and to be moving about life, and somebody comes in with that, reminding me in passive aggressive ways, sometimes direct ways, that they don't think I'm supposed to be in that space or I'm not supposed to like that thing. Um, we didn't get to the witchcraft aspect of it, but yeah, sometimes after a situation like that, I do a little spell. Yeah, literally my favorite thing to say is they're not gonna be my ass. Like, really, like, I mean, really, I do think like that. Like, so what are you gonna do about it? All right, do you think you could be my ass? Because if you think you can be my ass, well, at that point, I'd like to see you try to beat my ass, but we don't want to take it there. I try not to take it there. That is my attitude, though. That is my attitude. Like, I'd like to see you try. Good, so good, good. Let me see what you're gonna do. You really, I do think people should stop trying people because you never know what somebody got going on. You sizing them up, you looking at them, and you make assumptions. You don't know if they got something on them. That's why they feel a certain type of way. I'm very careful driving when I'm out and about, and I've had my run-ins with overzealous, crazy people, usually in a truck. Have y'all noticed there's always somebody in a big truck? And you know when he get out there, it's always a man. It's always a man in a big truck. And when you get out the truck, the only thing big was the truck. I don't argue with men. I don't. I make a point. My days of arguing with men are over. I don't argue with men. Young, old, none. I don't argue with you. Fine, go on. I'm usually trying to remove myself from a situation. I'm not gonna get into I don't really want to argue with anybody, honestly, but I'm definitely not arguing with men. I'm done. You all right, whatever. I'm not even gonna go back and forth with you. I'm out. We're done. I'm not gonna keep talking to you. I'm leaving the space. Um, y'all really I just people really shouldn't try people making assumptions because you never know what they have on them, metaphysically speaking or physically speaking. Some people got something on them. I will walk away in the middle of a conversation in a hot second. I don't have the energy. I don't want to give them my energy. I know exactly what you mean. I'm not going to do that. But when we have those situations, for me, a, I say a beverage because it's quicker sometimes. Like I'm really, and I should probably remind y'all for the 50 millionth time, I'm an Aries. Arguing is kind of a thing with us. I'll be honest with you. If we care, if I don't care, it's very easy. People get confused about Aries, and my daughter's one I realize on a regular basis I'm talking to mostly Aries women, which is crazy. We tend to find each other and huddle up because people don't get us. They think we're always angry or very passionate about something. Yeah, about stuff I care about. If I like you and I care about you, you could elicit that from me. But if you're a stranger and I don't know you, you could say a lot of things and you keep poking, you're not going to get a reaction. I have to. Step one is I got to give a ish about you. If I don't, you're a non-factor. Like I really don't care. Like I'm like, oh, you talking to me? Oh, and that's what I'm looking like. Who? And by the way, I'm not making this up. I have these encounters. I've talked about them here from these little heifers who want to be passive aggressive with me. Um, y'all know I like K-pop, right? So I'm in spaces, and it's always a certain type of young woman who makes a comment. Um, always, 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 always. It's never been anybody who looks like me who made a comment. Something, some back ended type thing. Um, yeah. So I usually keep something on me to ward against. Sometimes I'll do cloaking. By the way, do cloaking spells as well. That helps. If you just kind of want to be in the experience and you don't want to have to have people coming up to you, cloaking spells, they do work. I think as an Aquarius, it's so easy to detach from things that I don't want to be bothered with, especially if I don't know you. Please have fun fussing at yourself. I'm out. Exactly. I tend to get along with Aquarius women. I don't Aquarius men. Well, they say we're a good match, Aries and Aquarius. Yeah, that's another conversation. One day we got to talk about zodiac pairings, friends, not just romantic, but definitely a little bit of all of that, and we can just have a fun discussion about that. Um, but I digress. Uh, Sometimes it's divining answers also in a system designed to keep you confused. So for some of us coming into tarot, for some of us using our own divination, whether you're scrying with a bowl of water, whether you're throwing some shells or some bones or runes or whatever your thing is, a charm board. I love this, by the way. Whatever it is that you're doing, sometimes we're looking for answers because this system we're in is hell bent on making sure that we can't even trust the media, the trusted news source. Honestly, I'm getting my news from people literally on the ground most of the time. I'm getting it more from TikTokers. um, I'll see the news from supposedly trusted sources, but nothing. We really can't trust anything anymore. And I like to get like a array of information, and then I'm like, okay, when I see the overlap, I was like, oh, so that was the real part. That's what I'm really looking for. Wherever the overlap is, I started to, oh, so that's what really happened. Um, so we divine as witches, and this is rebellion, by the way, that I'm talking about. So I'm talking about these practices that all of us are understanding, and we do, or at least open to understanding and learning. But these are acts of rebellion because we have no choice. We have to understand a bigger picture of what's going on. You got to learn to trust your intuition, big time. You got to learn that when you get that little stirring, that feeling that something's not right after you heard, let's say, a news story, and everything in you is telling you there's something else. Believe it, there is something else. You're not. I truly, especially for those of us who are practitioners and we're actively casting, actively using divination, or you're just a highly intuitive person. If you trust it, it grows. And yeah, even when you're not turning it on, you feel it. You know something's going on. Now, here's the thing: you may not understand all at once, because I don't think that's how. The longer you practice, you realize spirit, the universe, the deities, they don't talk in the same way we do this. It's different. They don't have a form, a body anymore to be expressive and to do the way we talk in the language that we speak. So they speak to us in symbolism. Do I wish sometimes it was more direct? Yes, but dreams, symbolism, sometimes um, it's more esoteric, right? Sometimes sometimes it's just like a blaring sign and you finally do get it, but other times it's not. Literally, they might let a ton of bricks fall on your head to drive the point, or to finally give you the answer you were looking for. But I do think because we're not speaking in the same language. So divination, you just be patient, learn symbolism, learn when you okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. When I'm reading cards, um, there's part the cards, mainly is the cards, what the cards are saying, and my interpretation of the cards, right? So I'm working from there. And then there's the stuff that's popping up, whether it's an image, or a sensation, or just an entire thought form pops into my head. I know spirit ancestors, they're working through me at that point. I'm channeling. Uh, but you got to learn to trust that. And you got to learn to understand, especially when you're working with others, or if you're asking a question about the world and what's happening at like outside of you, you got to learn to discern what's ego, what's fear, what's you thinking versus what it actually is, what's coming through, what you're channeling. That takes time. That takes time. Let me read here. A couple years ago, I started getting news from local neighborhood based newspapers and newsrooms, and so much better for hearing about what's going on in the city. I like my local news channels as well, although they've been bought out by bigger things, but at least when they're just reporting, you can tell they're just reporting, they're not adding their spin on it. Yeah, neighborhood groups, but or on social media platforms. Like I use Instagram for that. There's a couple places, or not places, there are a couple pages or accounts I follow for the local stuff that's going on. So I know what's happening locally. One, I don't do cable TV, so I'm not going to get the news channels and all that. I only just figured out that like I got an LG TV and a Roku TV in the house. So like they'll show me like news channels. I never paid attention to that. I really, because I 24/7 news is the problem, but that's again another conversation. um But yeah, so we need to divine, use those tools, and tap into your intuition and tap into your innate power. I think we're all on ranges, but we have instinct. We all have our intuition. Tap into it, use it, trust it. Magic doesn't always have to look like protest signs and fire spells. It can, but it doesn't always have to look like that. It can also look like choosing yourself, which is what I'm getting at. Choosing yourself again and again in a culture built to deny your worth. So that's going to be to my black folk, to women and at large, because there's a patriarchal thing happening where, we're always below somebody. Um, we're not considered as smart. Add the black in front of the woman, it goes freaking bananas. And even if you are in a position of power, there are a large number of people who believe you were only there because what are those three letters? DEI. So yeah, um, and you really are smarter than everybody else in the room. It's maddening, but it is to be in existence. Is to constantly be level. There's a low level rage underneath. That's why I can't stand the. You don't want to be an angry black woman. I mean, to be a black woman in this country, you are kind of low key always a little angry, or you can be angered. And so many of us try, I was one of them, try so hard to prove we're soft. We're not. Hence the soft girl thing, especially amongst people who look like me. Oh no. And honestly, if you're not careful, you could land yourself over in that pick me side of the world. Pick me, I'm soft. Look, I'll be submissive. I'll do anything you tell me to do. You can do all that in the one and they still think you're an angry black woman. You could starve yourself till you're real tiny. Because if you're bigger, you're aggressive. You could be skinny. You could bleach your skin. You could wear long hair. You can do all the things. You could change your voice. You could completely change your voice, and you will still be considered an angry black woman. No matter how we contort ourselves, it doesn't matter. That's why I'm like, be who you're gonna be. When I have my little color in my hair like this, there's two minds. Some people think, oh, probably because of my age, they think more like, oh, she's a liberal Democrat, da 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 da. Others, I'm just ghetto. I'm be honest with you, because to have this skin and anything different, they just think you ghetto. Be who you are. Be whoever you want to be. A couple years. Oh no, you said, yeah, I'm not built for that. Sorry, I'm one of those scary, hyper independent cat lady women that don't want to end up like. Minus the cats. I'm actually allergic, so I can't do cats. Maybe my son keeps saying, you should get a dog. You really should get a dog. You really should get a dog. And I was like, I've had some run-ins last year that kind of left me a little very shaky about animals right now. Irresponsible pet owners, like multiple situations of people just letting their dogs be the animals that they are. And yeah, some bad, and it kind of left me a little PTSD. So I don't know. I've got to probably work through that first before I have pets. But everything else, yeah, um, yeah. If I was, who was I talking to? I was telling somebody. I was like, if you ever catch me, and I think it was my sister. I was telling her this. I was like, if you ever catch me in a situation going forward, and I'm standing next to some man who's like, I'm the head of the household. I run my household. I said, look me in the eye. That there's a one, I don't believe him. Or if I look like I believe him, see about me, I would probably have dementia or something. Something's wrong with me. Something happened. Or there's a lot of money at stake. I'm getting us all together. We're all being rescued out of the situation. Let me get back on track. The power of rage, shadow, and saying no. So this is more controversial stuff, believe it or not. The spiritual community loves to kind of sell you on this peace, love, and light. Because we don't want to scare the muggles, the mundanes. Let me say that we don't want to scare the mundanes. Because you start talking about being a witch, and people want to make sure I'm not going to hex you, I'm not going to curse you, I'm not that kind. I only do white magic. Ugh. What about rage? What about boundaries? What about magic that's a little more messy or raw, unpolished, and at the same time necessary? Um, witchcraft is where we can deal with our shadow. A lot of us, there's so many witches over the years that I've come across who because of witchcraft, they even came into the idea of understanding their shadow side and doing work that real is psychology, basically, seeking, whether it is seeking therapy or working with a trusted spiritual advisor, whatever the path, or a combination of all of that, or getting into circles with women who are all about healing that and are giving you the blueprint or giving you guidance and direction to help you heal so that you can get on with the business of being the powerful witch that you really are without, the restraints of memories and trauma and all that other stuff that's kind of keeping you from moving forward with that. Um, Witchcraft is where we can deal with our shadow. And once we can deal with that, just think about the power. There's a lot of people are really afraid to talk about that part because a lot of us become, that's why the word witch is considered so negative. One of the reasons is considered negative and is thrown as an insult, uh, because we are in touch, we're knowledgeable and we're in touch with that side of us. That's the side of us who may wish death on a perpetrator, on someone who caused the trauma that we have to do the shadow work for. And that's not something that's going to be talked about, which it doesn't need to be talked about on a larger, you know, that doesn't need to be something we're leading with. But it is part of it. If you've been doing it for long enough, yeah, the death part, it's not just light and love. That there's the dark side. And when I say the dark side, I mean that in a positive way. What and I was talking about this recently with someone, and darkness is where you create life. And it's also, from what we understand, death. So but that's just the full spectrum, the full circle. You can't have one without the other. Um, we don't bypass. Well, I don't. We don't spiritually gaslight ourselves. We go in and we come out changed. I've had my tower moments, as I like to call them. I've had situations from a spiritual aspect that have forever marked me and changed me to the witch that I am today. I've talked about before, I used to be terrified of death, which is silly because it was inevitable. But that saying those words could have sent me into a full on panic attack. Full, like really, the concept of it, and then it was even my own facing my own immortality, which, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'd like to keep living as long as I want. That's what I would like. I don't want the decision to be made because of illness, disease, or just, the parts wore out, or murder. I don't want that either. Um, or accident. Yeah, there's so many different things. But the point is, I want it to be my choice. Ultimately, that's what I would want. I want it to be my choice. I decide when I can go, when I want to check out this crazy hellscape we call Earth. I want it to be my decision. Um, so that I've got this. Let me tell you something. Even to talk like this, and it's not even somebody dying that got me here. It was literally talking to those who passed on, my ancestors, the dead, channeling, the yeah, the energy of the dead and spirit. That's what eventually got me here. Because to be a witch, I mean, I'm not saying you have to talk to the dead and that You have to do ancestor veneration. I didn't for at least that first half. I did not do that. And I didn't work with the deity either for a while. I've talked about that. I did, I kind of low key was like an atheist witch, which is possible, which is possible. So there were things that occurred, and I eventually got there, experiences and mishaps and of sorts that got me there. But the point is, I got there, and it was a slow moving evolvement over years, and each new experience, I had to open. I just kept opening up more and more to the point where I was like, oh, I'm not scared anymore. I'm no longer afraid about this. But this was something that evolved over time. Um, and I've been forever changed by these different experiences that I've had, and there's probably more to come. So and you, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you gotta. This is part of the rebellion, the resistance. No, seriously, you gotta know, you gotta get comfortable with all that, those other aspects, your shadow side, all those things that you want to keep hidden and you don't want to open up. I'm not saying you got to open it up all at once, because a lot of us are not equipped to handle that. But like, slowly start inching that door open, and the crevices of your minds that you put it in, that you think things are locked away, but it's really not, and it's oozing out and it's affecting all the other aspects of your life, including your spirituality. It's hard to be afraid and have these like irrational thoughts about death, and you're trying to venerate your ancestors. They don't go together. You see what I mean? I had to face that. Um, so yes, sometimes I do light black candles for banishment. Sometimes I throw a jar of storm water and I scream. Yes, sometimes I do throw things. I'll scream and I cry into the wind, which right now, when it's windy, it's hot wind and there's no humidity, so it's just dry. So trying to cry is weird, but sometimes I do. Real talk. Yeah, sometimes I do, just because that's a release for me, as well. And there's magic in that. Um, Speaking of, sometimes I do a release ritual. Lately, I've been doing those more often, um, where I'll speak the word no out loud. That's powerful as well. And it's to systems, it's to people, to energy, that's trying to cling to me, especially after a nasty doom scroll. Yeah, that's important. I'll shower all that off, and it's more than just a shower. There's something spiritual happening with me as well. But either way, that's all still love. It's all still magic, and it's all still very sacred. So we're going to talk about modern tools for a chaotic world. Practical witchcraft, which is one of my favorite things, the kind that you can do right now. So let's talk about glamour magic. Um, Glamour magic, for visibility and protection. So your makeup is enchanted. Makeup, maybe it's because you're using the power of voice. Maybe you want to do something with the lips, even if it's just a lip gloss or just a lip balm. Maybe you're not a makeup person. But use additional things you want to add to it. Maybe some rose oil, very little. You don't want to do too much because you can have an allergic reaction with your face. Herbs, do your research. But the point is, you walk into the room different. You walk in changed, and you walk in untouchable. For a lot of us, is untouchable. But you can invoke glamour magic for that purpose. A candle spell, again, for clarity and power. So yellow for communication, red for confidence, black to remove what blocks you, and also to absorb. Um, you don't necessarily have to do anything on a full moon, but you do want that intention. You need that intention. Home wards and digital shields. So salt maybe at your doors. I'm talking the basics. Salt at your doors. Even a bay leaves with sigils drawn on, or a one word intention drawn on it or written on it, by the computer as well. You can do that. Or a crystal. Another thing is, a charged sigil in your wallet, protection as part of your daily practice. And then there's rituals of nourishment, like making a cup of tea, or even iced tea right now with intention. Bathe, which I kind of talked about. Bathe like you're baptizing your power back in. That's also rebellious too, or rebellion too. Uh, don't skip on the bathing part. A lot of that is super helpful for us as just your daily ritual for protection, especially once the act of bathing itself, and the things that you're using that you previously enchanted for the for attraction and protection. If you're doing attraction, make sure you're doing some protection as well. Glamour magic is definitely next on my list of things to dive into. Yeah, I found out recently one of the ASMRists I like, he's actually a glamour witch. Some people sleep on it because one, there is information about it. To me, to get into glamour magic, the first step is I do think it's easy just to get into it on, I guess, the more aesthetic stuff. For some of us, it's going to draw you in, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing. It's kind of the point. And then you can understand how you can use this um, in other ways for protection. Cloaking is technically with under the realm of glamour magic as well, especially as you're moving in and out. Um, in a world where people want women specifically to shrink themselves and to be smaller and dainty and all the other crap, maybe you need to move in certain spaces where you want them to perceive you that way, so you can do some other things. That would be that would definitely be hitting in the glamour magic thing. It's not about what you believe. It's not portraying. um, you are being manipulative, but with a purpose. And most of us, when we're doing that, is usually for our own protection. I just need you to think this about me long enough for me to get in and conduct my business or do what I need to do or make my money. Some of us need that for that purpose. So you don't see me as a threat. I don't. You don't want them to see you as a threat because you are threatening. And you know, if you're not ready to fight or have to defend yourself in that moment, you need that glamour. um, get your book of shadows for the love witch, which also talks about glamour magic and love, uh, being a love witch and what that is, and their spells and rituals and correspondences and things of that nature. This is available on Amazon, on my website, leaptaken.com, and also through the TikTok shop. But more importantly, you get that information up front, but you get these beautiful blank pages where you can add your journey, your spells, your rituals. And so if you have something, you found the right herbs, the right oils that don't break you out, that you add a little bit to some of your existing, let's say your moisturizers or your sunscreen or the makeup itself. You want to write that stuff down and, learn what works for you, what doesn't, and then you enchant it. So maybe there's a charm. You have a place to write all that information down. um, Yeah, but I can't, the bathing thing sometimes just again, in the most realist physical sense, you want to you feel it on you and you feel like water is going to cleanse you. Um Also, from a metaphysical point of view, you can look at it from it's washing away the what, whether it's from doom scrolling or physically being outside and actually dealing with people with, negative energy. You feel like you brought that on you. That's where my practice comes in as a cottage witch, because that's just one aspect going into the shower. It The house itself is like, what I kind of picture in my mind. I grew up watching the Jetsons, so they're using high tech to do certain things in a house, but to me, it's like the invisible spiritual doing the same thing. So I come in, if I touch a certain object, I'm kind of taking it off me and I'm coding it into that. Or the act of removing my shoes, I'm not stepping through my house with that outside energy, so they stay there and they can be cleansed on your shoe rack. You can enchant your shoe rack maybe to have another purpose beyond just holding your shoes or a mat or something like that. They also cleanse them, or maybe you create, your spray, you create a spray or something like that that does that. And I'm somebody like, depending on the time of day, but if I've been out all day, I'm gonna take my clothes off. I'm gonna just change out my clothes and not have the outside clothes on, which has residual energy on it. That's where some people will veil as well. You'll do, veil so that you're protecting your crown from that energy as well. As my hair has gotten longer, I kind of use it as a veil. I do. I use it as a veil. The colors that I use sometimes are, I'm drawn to that color, but they might have a deeper meaning behind it as well on why I chose to add that additional color to my hair. But the default is black. So, well, now it's brown because the black is wearing out. I don't know. I'm getting to a color by hair dye, but the point is, I use my hair itself like a veil sometimes. So when your hair gets longer, if you're wearing something, if you choose to just wear your hair long, you can do that like as you're out, and you can kind of, especially if you have bangs, long bangs, you can kind of cover it and just create this blanket that people, maybe they don't need to see you, they don't need to see your whole face. So let's talk about you being the spell. You don't need permission to be powerful. You don't need a title or a lineage or a perfect altar to say that I am a witch. I want to just definitely drive that home. You claim your space. Move through the world with intention and with some fire. It's easy for me to tap into this, even on my worst day, feeling down. Honestly, I'm hella confident, and I use my ego in the best way possible. That is very much to be in Aries. I'm just being honest with you. It's not hard for me to tap into this. To truly, in the face of, I can have a row of people telling me you're not this, you're, that or this. It really doesn't sick. It's not about having thick skin. I really don't believe that. Like, I know at every iteration of me, I really am a powerful witch. I am that person. I know and if it's about looks or something like that, no, I am attractive. I'm that bitch. Like, you can't tell me differently. All the most they'll come in is, oh, amongst these people, I guess they move different. They see things differently. I really don't think it's me though. I always think it's them. So that fire is always there for me. Again, as an Aries sun sign, it's hard for it not to be. Even though, like I said, even on my worst days, you can't convince me that. You might get me on some other stuff. I might be rethinking some other things about myself, but not that. Never that. But I realize for others is a little bit differently, so that's who I'm talking to. Dig deep, and once you have that fire, don't let that fire go out. Keep it there. Don't let nobody get in your head about who you are and what you can do. Your magic is your yes and your no. Uh, it's also your softness and your sharpness, by the way. It's your stillness and your rage. It's all of those things. We're not just one thing. You're not just light and love all the freaking time. You're not supposed to be. No one is. Um, in a time where silence is easy, it's easy to just shut up and just go with the status quo. Show up a little bit more loud. You decide what that loud means. Sometimes it really is using your voice, sometimes it's using your expression. It's art, it's all of those things. It's magical. Showing up loud, magical, a little messy, but real, authentic. That's rebellious. That's also the spell. And we're all that. We are all that. I love the idea of using your hair as a veil. Yeah, mine is past waist past waist length. Can't read the words at this point, so that might be something interesting to explore. Yeah, let me tell you something. If I'm in certain spaces and I'm not, like, I was cool and then something shifted. You ever be somewhere, it's something she like. First of all, I'm trying to conduct my business and go. But when that does happen, I went to an international food market, and it was a couple people kind of, I ain't like the energy. I'm gonna just tell you that. We're gonna just keep it there. I ain't like the energy. So I don't want nothing on me. And I didn't understand what some of the people were saying because I didn't speak the language. I wasn't even sure what language it was. But I could tell by your expression and how you looking at me, it was not positive. So I'm walking by and you see this. So I make sure they on this side. Ah, you see what I'm doing here? So you don't see. You know what I'm saying? You don't really see. And this is what I'm talking about veiling, it's a little intentional. Um, where I'm making sure they can't really see but all of my face because you look like you sending something on me, you putting something on me. So that's just another protective defense or something like that. Like that you're doing in real time. Like I didn't set out to be that way. I was just, la 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 la, happy go lucky. And then, you're interacting with people and things are happening. Um, I do have more peace in my life when I'm at home. I do. Um, we have all different types of people, and I try to give people grace. I really, really, really do. Um, I'm not reactive. Like, so I'm not reacting all the time. I don't think people are all out to get me. Um, I don't, but I also don't believe that everybody is neutral. I don't believe that everyone um, if they think they can get away with something that they might really try because unfortunately from the youngest to the oldest out there walking around sometimes people are walking around like that, and I think we just have a lot of people moving about, including those holding political power. They just never really been punched in the face. Like nobody's really just walked up and punched them in the face from the time they was a little kid till now, and it shows. So I'm gonna leave y'all with that. I'm gonna leave y'all with that. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up. So I appreciate you all. I appreciate you for you said it. Yes, it does. It shows. Like you ain't never been a punch in the face, and I could tell. Because the way you moving about the world, like I'm not a big fan of humbling people. I don't really like that word. But they need to be humbled a little bit. Like just once, just one good time. Um, look what happened to Elon. You got the black eye. Look what happened to Elon. He got and he got humble. And look what happened. Oh, his son, his barely preschool age son, toddler preschool age son punched him in the eye and left a mark. Yes, it could be done. If you've ever had, especially, I'm not saying it don't happen with girls, but definitely boys, they tend to be climbing around. They can elbow you and leave a mark on your face. Uh, that wasn't that baby that did that. Tink tink, yeah. And look what happened. Now he might get deported per the man in charge. He just said that like when the press, it was some sort of press conference, or the press was talking to who was talking to the press, and he did kind of allude that was a possibility. He got punched. They didn't get humbled. Thank you all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share all that YouTube stuff. Hit the join button if you want to join Leap Taken membership. It supports the channel. But there are some wonderful perks. You get a 40% off anything that's happening over at my website, leaptaken.com. Links are in the description. I do offer books of shadows. I showed my one, the Book of Shadows for the Love Witch. I also have a, do I have? Yeah, I have it here. I also have a Hoodoo Grimoire, so you can record your rebellious practices here. I have the Book of Shadows for the Hearth Witch, which you can also record that here. By the way, I've already went live on TikTok. I don't know why I created something in my head about that. You want to talk about getting in your head and dimming yourself. So I went live over there, just popped up. So I'm going to be doing it again, probably within the next hour. I'm going to be over there, and I'm just talking about my books of shadows and whatever else. It's real loosey goosey over there. So I'll be over there. So if you're curious, Leap Taken is also on TikTok. So I'll be over there live as well. All right. Be powerful. Tap into your magic. Tap into your intuition. Be the spell. The mere act of, even if you don't like the term witch, if it just doesn't resonate with you, you know what I'm talking about. Your counterculture. That's your rebellion right there. And then use that to your advantage. All right. Bye, everybody.